जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यामुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यामुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपा प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Welcome everybody to our Saturday satsang. Before we start, as always, can anybody please recollect what we discussed last week? What did we discuss last week? Discussed from verse 3 till 8, I think. Yeah. Anybody remembers?
Controlling the senses.
Controlling the senses. Okay, what about that? What did we say about controlling senses?
Without controlling, we cannot get higher knowledge.
Okay. Without controlling senses, we cannot get higher knowledge. Okay. Then?
You also mentioned give up pity weakness of art and perform your duty.
Okay, give up
Krishna
weakness.
says to Arjuna not to degrade potency.
Not to give up petty weakness of heart and do our duty. Okay. What else did we discuss?
So, so basically, Arjuna basically expressed his dilemma that exists within his mind, and finally he surrenders up to Krishna for the guidance. That is where we'll start from today.
Yeah, so what else did we discuss on this Arjuna's confusion and surrenders to Krishna? Anything else? Do you remember? What else did we discuss on this verse?
Real problems.
Real problems, yes. So that is where we have to start today, right? That's what I said last time, I think. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. I was missing the connection. Okay, so real problem. So this verse, I mean, it is one of the most critical verses to understand, right? Karpanya doshopata svabhava prichami tvam dharma sammoda cheta yashreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyaste ham shadimam tvam prapannam. So here, so 2-3 things which were of importance. I don't know how much of these we discussed. So, so he asked Krishna, tell me what is best for me. So did I discuss Shreyas and Preyas?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so Shreyas and Preyas we discussed. Shreyas is long term, like ultimate benefit, and Preyas is immediate benefit, right? And Arjuna was asking for long term benefit or eternal benefit, and that is the actual real interest. Okay, so we talk about Swartha. Swartha is generally like, selfishness, self-centeredness. This is generally considered as not a good quality, right? But actually all of us should be selfish in the sense that we should be trying to figure out what is the ultimate good, what is the real good for us, right? That kind of selfishness, not the material petty selfishness, right? And the real selfishness, actually the Shastra says, Nate Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnu. Real Swartha is actually to worship Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, right? That is a real Swartha. So here, actually Arjuna is asking, tell me for sure, don't give me any opportunity, don't give me any option. You just tell me this needs to be done and I'm prepared to accept, because I have surrendered unto you. Right? So this whole word surrender, people are afraid of this word surrender in this Kali Yuga, because they're afraid, saying that, if you surrender to somebody, they will cheat us. They will take advantage of us. So I am not going to surrender to anybody, because surrender means that once we are surrendered to that person, that means that we give up everything, all our, whatever we have, right? Practically, whatever is ours becomes theirs in that sense, right? So Krishna, Arjuna here is saying, I'm completely surrendering. You tell me whatever you want, ask me to give up my life, I am ready to give up my life, right? But you tell me whatever is best, whether I should kill the opposite party, whether I should get killed, whether I should beg, whether I should rule, whatever I need to do. You tell me for sure, for clearly, right? So he is ready to take instructions from Krishna. He is ready to take instructions from Krishna. And for us to we discussed, I think, right? So everybody, it is important for everybody to have a spiritual master who comes in the parampara, disciplic succession, who comes in the parampara, who is authorized because he is knower of Krishna. He knows Krishna. He knows the process of Krishna consciousness. So he can guide us on the path. And Prabhupada writes in the purport saying that all of us are in, midst of perplexities all the time. Some problem or the other, we just jump from one problem to another, right? Problem solving is, that's all that life is all about, right? And Prabhupada is saying here that all of us are in these perplexities and we need to understand how to deal with these perplexities. And for us to, get understanding insights into how to deal with perplexities, we have to actually surrender to a guru, because a guru will actually give us real spiritual knowledge on which we can deal with our life, right? Not that we go to a guru and ask him saying that, I lost a job, can you help me find a job, or am I going to find another job? You're a powerful person, can you predict my future? No, this is all not. We have to go to a guru and ask, saying that, okay, I am having so many problems. Why are there problems? How do I get rid of all these problems so that I don't want any more problems? This is spiritual master, spiritual guru, right? So all of us, every human being should have a spiritual master. Actually, previously this used to be normal practice. Every family used to have like a kula guru, right, or family guru, right? And they used to go and approach that guru for all matters, all decisions, be it a children's marriage or anything auspicious, inauspicious, whatever it is, right? For everything they go and seek input, guidance from guru. Now, of course, I mean that whole practice was lost over a period, is lost over a period of time. So it is very important that we actually have somebody to go to who can give us all the required guidance, right, when it comes to spiritual understanding of life. So material understanding, there are a lot of people, right? I mean, there are a lot of experts, material experts, different branches have their own experts, etc., etc. This we are talking specifically about spiritual problems, as in spiritual perspective, spiritual understanding of life, right? So we need to go to a guru, like Arjuna did. He went to Krishna, he surrendered to him, right? We also have to go to a guru, we have to surrender to guru, and we should directly take instructions from the guru. And what the guru should speak, the guru should speak only whatever Krishna has spoken in Bhagavad Gita. Guru should actually help us implement everything that Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita, nothing else. And of course, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, right? The scriptures, the authorized scriptures. Right now, so we discussed about Kripana, right? Kripana is one. Here, that Karpanya dosha, right? The word starts with Karpanya dosha. Karpanya is miserly weakness. Miserly weakness, right? Kripanata in Hindi or in many languages, this word Kripana is there, right? Which means is a miser. Now, whom do we call a miser? We call somebody who has money and who is not utilizing it. We generally call him a miser, right? Actually, miser word has a wider meaning. Miser is one who has got the human form of life, but he's not utilizing it properly. So basically, the definition of miser is anything who has something of use or value and he is not making use of it, right? Like somebody has money, he's not making use of it. Somebody has a human life, he's not making use of it. He's also miser. Shastra calls these people miser. They're misers, right? Why? Because they are not utilizing their human form of life to actually realize who they are, why they are here, what is the goal of life, etc. Right? And they are living like animals, right? Which is a waste of human form of life. So here, this Kripana, this miserly person, he is just attached to family life, nothing else, right? Everything, family is all in all, right? And when I say family, it is self, then, husband, wife, children, parents, then relatives, then society, then state, nationality, etc., etc. Like this, it keeps, the selfishness keeps getting extended. It's called extended selfishness. But basically that person is just centered around the body, self-centered around the body, right? And this person is a miser because he doesn't know how to utilize his human form of life. And this is called skin disease, right? Shastra calls it skin disease. Skin disease means this is all just connected to the skin, right? Because all these relations are connected to the skin, right? Because, you know, that's what we say, it is all just because of relations, right? And then of course we are selfish, we just are so concerned about our own family, our own children. We don't really bother about others, or, you know, many times, you know, neighbors, we don't even speak to our neighbors. I mean, it's so self-centered life, right? Nuclear, atomic, then, you know, so many complications, right? All this is because we have become very self-centered. We become very self-centered, right? And we are not aware of the real problems of life. We are just, and this self-centeredness, what is the self-centeredness about? Trying to solve day-to-day problems, right? So we have this relationship, and we have family means there are a bunch of things to be done. Somebody or the other requires attention in the house, and we are all the time just involved in this. Right now, what more, right? We never get to a chance to sit and think, okay, what more? Fine, I'm doing all this, I'm doing my duties, but what more? What else? Is there anything else to life, right? And this is a miser. A miser doesn't ask this question. A miser is just happy in his, you know, family life, and, you know, just running from one responsibility to another, and, you know, that's it, and he's content with it, right? But that's just like animalistic, right? Animals don't ask these higher questions, right? If humans also don't ask, then there's, what is the difference between us and animals? So we as human beings, we should be really concerned about the real problems of life. In fact, Arjuna was also, because of Krishna's desire, because Arjuna, please remember, Arjuna is a pure devotee. He is an eternal associate of Krishna, which means that wherever Krishna goes and has his Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is present, right? Krishna's Leela happens eternally, continuously, right? From one material universe to another, Krishna's pastimes keep happening, and wherever Krishna's pastimes are happening, Arjuna is there with him. So these devotees are called eternal associates. Okay, now, but he is all the time. Arjuna is put into illusion like a normal human being. Why? Because Krishna has to give Bhagavad Gita. To give Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Arjuna has to go into illusion, and then to pull him out of illusion, Krishna gives Bhagavad Gita. Right? So Arjuna was not really he was a self-realized soul. He was a devotee of the Lord, right? But he was put into this situation because he's also thinking like this only. He's also thinking about skin disease. Oh, you know, my relatives, how can I kill them? Now he's not thinking about the real, about Atmagnan, which Krishna is going to talk about. He's not thinking about the fact that we are souls. He's just thinking about body and bodily requirements and happiness and enjoyment, which is what all materialists, all people in the material world generally do, right? So he's also not really worried about the real problems in life, real solutions, etc., etc. Right? So this is very, very important that we don't become, you know, these miserly persons without actually asking the real questions, right? And we were discussing about the real problems, right? Because what we are just trying to solve is all temporary problems, right? Routine problems. So real problems. Now Shastra says real problems are Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Jara is old age, and Vyadhi is disease. Okay. Now, I guess all of us understand why old age and disease is a real problem. By the way, so the definition of real problem, I don't know if I mentioned, definition of real problem is nobody wants, but nobody can avoid it. I'm repeating it. Nobody wants these problems specifically, but nobody can avoid these problems. So for example, water not coming or vehicle getting punctured. Now, this is not happening to everybody, right? So these are not real problems. So real problems are nobody wants them, but nobody can avoid them, which means that everybody inevitably has to go through this, right? So old age and disease, we understand everybody goes through it, and it is painful, right? Old age is painful, disease is painful. We have seen this with people around us. We've experienced it ourselves when it comes to, you know, disease, etc., etc. Now, what about birth and death? So birth, death, old age, and disease, these are 4 real problems of life, for which actually, for vehicle getting punctured or water not coming, there could be solutions, right? For these, normal people don't know what the solution is, right? And this is why this has to be questioned, this has to be asked, this question has to be asked to people who have actually found the answers, right? And get the answers from them. So why is birth and death considered as a real problem? Anybody wants to take a guess? Why birth and death are considered as problems?
Because it comes due to our karma.
It comes due to our karma, but why are they real problems? Okay, so birth, for example, right now, when somebody is born, what happens when somebody is born? Are we sad that somebody is born, or are we happy? We're happy, right? We're happy and we're all enjoying and celebrating that somebody is born. But now, actually, the child that is come out of the mother's womb, is that child crying or is that child smiling and happy? The child is crying, right? The child is crying because actually this is a very painful process. The process of birth is very painful, right? Of course, mothers would have experienced, especially if you don't go to, you go through a natural, pregnancy and give birth naturally to a child, it is pretty painful. And Shastra says this, right? But it is also painful for the child, right? And that is the reason the child has actually reached the pinnacle of his suffering inside the mother's womb. Just imagine, right? If suppose say if you're tied like this with our hands and legs and no place to move, and we have to be like that in one closed black box with all kinds of side effects, like there is some fire somewhere, there's some worms, insects, this and all, and dirty smell and all this, not really the best of places to be in for 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. Then what happens to us? Can we even deal with it? Actually, the baby in the mother's womb actually gets consciousness 7th month. Up to 7th month actually doesn't have complete consciousness. It's like dazed, doesn't understand. But some 7th month actually it starts feeling pain, and there is heat, and and then it starts moving its legs and this and that and all that. So many things happen, right? So we should understand that the baby is very uncomfortable inside, right? And actually it prays to the Lord. Bhagavatam, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's description, it prays to the Lord saying, I am supposed to be serving you, I'm your servant, but I've forgotten and I've come to this material world, I'm suffering, right? And it says, okay, it makes a promise, I will come out and I will serve you, right? But unfortunately that promise never gets fulfilled, right? Because as soon as we come out of the mother's womb, we forget what we have said, whether we have said, not said, etc. And we are just totally back into the material world, right? But the child is really suffering, right? And it wants to just get out. At that point of time, when the suffering cannot be tolerated anymore, that is when birth happens. That is when the baby comes, right? And it's in sad state, it is crying, right? So it's a very painful process. Birth is a painful process, right? 9 months of pain, right? Death is even more painful. Death is even more painful for the simple reason that we are so attached to our body, right? Suppose I'm in my house and somebody comes, barges into my house and they're trying to throw me out of the house. What will I do? I mean, I'll hold on to some whatever bar, some door, whatever I can. I'll hold on to anything, right? Why? Because I think this is my house. And they can't just throw me out like that, isn't it? Right? Because I'm so attached to this place. This is my house. I'm living in this house. Why are you throwing me out? Right? This is unfair. You can't do this. And we might be crying, we might be afraid, we might be shouting, whatever, right? Whatever emotions might come. Similarly, this whole life we would have lived generally, right? People who don't have the knowledge of the soul, we have lived thinking, that this is my body, this is my home, this is me. And then at that point of time, the soul is being pulled out of the home, right? And the soul doesn't want to leave this home. It says, no, this is my home. I built it so nicely. I spent so much of time and energy building this. So it's in distress. The soul doesn't want to leave the body. That's why if you have been near, somebody who near and dear ones who left their body. Sometimes, you know, there is happiness, sometimes there's distress in the face, you know, when the person leaves their body. There's so many emotions that come out. There is fear sometimes. The person is too much concerned about something, saying that who's going to take care of this, that, etc., right? And it is said because of this attachment, that pulling out, that, you know, separation of the atma from the body is like, you know, Garuda Purana says some 40,000 scorpions biting us at one time. At one time, just imagine the amount of pain, right? So this is death. So now the intelligent question to ask is, why do we want to go through this pain? You know, birth is a pain. Then when we get up, when we take birth, then, you know, then there are diseases that are painful. Then there's old age, which is so painful. Then there's death, which is even more painful. Why do we want to go through all this? I mean, isn't it intelligence to say, I don't want this? I don't want to go through all this. How many of us think that it's okay to go through all these problems? I mean, what is the big deal? How many of us think it's okay? As in, what is the problem? Anybody who thinks that way, saying that what is the problem? Let me go through these real problems. Let me experience them. By the way, I mean, even if we experience, we don't remember them also. For example, you know, once we die, then we forget. We don't even remember what happened in our last life. So in fact, there's no value of any experience also here. Many times you might say, you know, let's go through problems, we learn from them. Now, whatever we learn is forgotten, is lost. Right? So really there is no use of this, right? Even from a material perspective, there is really no use of this, right? So how many of us think that this is okay? Like, you know, what is the problem? Why don't we deal with all these problems? Why do we want to escape from this? Or why are we talking about getting out of this problem forever? How many of us think it's not required to solve for these problems? These are okay.
We don't want that, but there is no escape also.
No. So first we'll talk about the escape. Escape, if there is no escape, then, you know, why will we spend so much of time? There is escape. Okay, so we'll talk about the escape. That is Bhagavad Gita. But my question is, how many of us think that it is okay to have these problems? Is there anybody here who thinks that it is okay to have these problems? It's okay
No,
to
I
think
don't
that way.
want these problems.
Yeah, Mataji, Padma Mataji is very clear. She doesn't want these problems.
I don't want them.
Yeah, even I don't want. Anybody else here who thinks that they want these problems?
No.
No, Seturaman Prabhu also doesn't want.
No,
Rudy, you want?
no.
No. 3 times. No. Huh? Nobody, none of us want these problems, isn't it?
Yes.
Nobody wants these problems, right? But we are spending so much of time and energy trying to solve that water problem, that, you know, internet problem. I was spending whole day today trying to solve some problems. Yeah? So we are spending so much of time and energy trying to solve these little petty problems around us. Why is it that we don't want to spend energy to solve these real problems? Shouldn't we spend time and energy? Shouldn't we try to find out the path and then stick to the path and do whatever it takes?
Yes, we have to do that.
Huh?
Yes.
We should do that.
Yes.
So this, the important thing here is commitment. This is an effort. This requires effort. There has to be commitment from our side, saying that I want this. See, why am I spending so much time on this? Because I want all of you all to feel that, you know, yes, we should also want this. We also want this path.
Yes.
Why should we waste our time? Right? Yes, we have to do our duty. We have to, you know, solve our water problems. Otherwise, we won't have water to drink. Right? All those problems we have to solve, but that is not the end all. That is not everything in life.
Correct.
Right? We can't just live like that without even having a view about saying that, you know, okay, these are temporary problems, but what about my real problems? That should always be in the back of our mind. What about real problems? How do I solve these real problems? Is there anybody who knows the solution? Right? So this is the real intelligence. This is human being. When we become a human being, we should ask these questions and say, I don't want this. I don't want this. Right? But people will say, okay, this keeps happening. What is there? You know, we come and go, but then there's no meaning. Then we are as good as animals. Right? So please think about this, and this requires your time and effort, and, you know, you have to show interest here. If you show interest, only then you can make. you can make things happen. And of course, I mean, the good news is, yes, there is a way out. There is a way out. And Krishna says, gives the solution in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam shanam rajam tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sutha. Then he says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. He says, Tyaktva deham is once you give up the body. Punarjanma naiti. There is no punarjanma. How? He says, Janma karma cha me divyam. One who understands Krishna's appearance and activities are divine, transcendental, which means that we understand Krishna's position, we understand our position as servants of Krishna, and that we have to serve Krishna as a servant. If we follow this in our life, then we will not come back to this material world. This will be our last birth. So we discuss a lot of this in Bhagavad Gita. Multiple verses Krishna speaks about this, how great intelligent sages of the past followed this path, achieved perfection, did not come back to this material world. Krishna speaks about that. Right? So this is the real thing that we need to be doing, right? We need to be thinking about the real problems and solve for them. Just 1 second. So this is the whole idea, right? So Arjuna forgot about this, right? Arjuna forgot about the real problems, and he also got stuck with the temporary problems, right? And he's saying, you know, temporary problems, you know, why do I have to fight? What is the use of this fighting? He's not thinking that this is for actually, this whole thing is for dharma samsthapanarthaya. Why dharma has to be there? Dharma, Krishna has to establish dharma because only when, you know, there is a dharmic ruler, that people will be given an opportunity to practice this. Right? See, today our unfortunate situation is our administrators. They have absolutely no idea about all this. Okay, so we will discuss this in verse 31 of the 2nd chapter. There is something called Swadharma. There is something called Varnashrama Dharma. Right? In this, actually, the in Varnashrama Dharma, there is somebody called Kshatriya. Kshatriya is an administrator. Okay, so this administrator's work is actually to they protect the citizens in such a way that citizens can actually follow this path, try to follow this path of achieving perfection in their life, so that they don't have to be born again. That is the role of administrators. Now, we'll discuss this in more detail, but our administrators are far from that, right? They're just cheaters and rogues, just trying to fill their own pockets. Right, but dharma has to be established because the ruler, the king, has to be actually qualified, and he should create facilities for people so that they can follow this path and achieve perfection, so that they are not just stuck with solving temporary problems in life, that they really are able to solve for the real problems. Right? So this is a social change, right? A social change. So Krishna wanted to establish dharma. Krishna wanted to establish that ruler who was Yudhishthir Maharaj, who could actually establish dharma, right, and thereby enable this this path for people. And hence this was so important that Arjuna saw that reason. Arjuna should have seen that reason, but like I said, because of the Lord's desire, he did not see that reason, and he went into illusion, because Krishna is now going to speak Bhagavad Gita. And in verse 8, he says, I can't find any means to drive away my grief. We might sometimes think, I have so much of academic knowledge, I am materially so qualified, I have so much of money, I have such a high position. None of these are going to help us solve the real problems. None of these can solve the real problems. Right? Nobody can say, I am very qualified, so let there not be death for me. Right? Not possible. Right? Or somebody says, I have so much of bank balance, Yamaraj, can you take my bank balance? Yamaraj is not going to wait for even a second more than what we are destined to be here. Right? So that is one important thing. The other important thing is we have to accept shelter of a guru, of a bona fide guru. And the guru is somebody who knows the science of Krishna. And it doesn't matter what, where he is born, whether he has a white skin, he has a brown skin, he has a dark skin, whether he speaks, Indian language or non-Indian language, or whether he's born in a Shudra family or even a family of dog eaters. It doesn't matter. It is a matter of guna and karma. Whether he has developed that knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and whether he's practicing it himself, that is the real measure before we can accept a guru, that he is actually following these things nicely, right? So this was verse 8. Now today we will continue. Of course, see, the other thing is, many people think nowadays not much. How many of us know about going to heaven, Swarga? That previously people used to be concerned about going to Swarga, right? Nowadays, I think we are concerned about going to America, Europe. We are not concerned about going to Swarga. Swarga is like 10x or 1000x America, 1000x Europe, or 1000x of whatever you think is the best place to go on earth. Heavenly planets is like much more, right? Much better, right, than any of this. And people previously, they were never worried about going to America, Europe, Singapore, Disneyland. They were worried about going to the heavenly planets, right? And heavenly planets we cannot go in this life. We have to prepare our life. We require one whole life to prepare to go to heavenly planets, right? So Vedic knowledge used to give us this, the instructions by which one could live life, so that next life they could go to heavenly planets. Bhagavad Gita says, Urdhvam gachanti satvasta, madhye tishtanti rajasa. One who lives life in goodness, mode of goodness. We'll discuss about this mode of goodness also later. He will go to heavenly planets. He can go to heavenly planets, right? So people used to be worried about that, right? But of course, the problem is, even if you go to the heavenly planets, once that punya is over, we have to again come back to this material world, right? It is like a quota. Once whatever we accumulated goodwill, punya, once that gets exhausted, then we have to come back. So even going to that heavenly planets is not so much of a good option. It's not going to help. It's going to maybe help solve these problems of birth, death, old age, disease to some extent, because the problems in the heavenly planets are not as gross as here. They are more subtle. So for example, one thing to understand, they don't have anything like old age in heavenly planets, okay? So, but their problem is that their death happens instantaneously. They don't even know, right? It's like on earth, if somebody young and everything is okay, and suddenly he dies, then you feel like shock, right? Than when somebody dies once they have reached old age, right? So heavenly planets is like that, because they are all hale and healthy, everything going fine, everything pakka. Then suddenly one day they'll fall. Their time in the heavenly planets is over, because they don't know that, they don't have the counter when my punya is getting over. As soon as the punya gets over, they have to come back, right? So they are in full tension, anxiety. Oh, when is my counter going to get over, right? So but old age is not there, but there are other anxieties. Then there are asuras who will come and fight with them to take away their position, etc., etc. There are other problems, right? But it's much better than earth, right? But still, once that punya is exhausted, we have to come back. So that is also not a very good destination, right? So best is to just get rid of this birth, death, old age. This is permanently, once for all, right? Without having to worry about it again. Okay, verse 9. Sanjay uvacha evam uktva rishikesham gudakesha parantapa na yotsyaiti govindam uktva tushnim babuvaha. Arjuna said, okay, I'm not going to fight, right? So he just kept quiet. He said, I'm not going to fight, and he fell silent. No more discussion. Then verse 10, Tam uvacha rishikesha prahasan niva bharata senayorubhaya mudhya vishidantam idam vachaha. So, Krishna was smiling. Because he knew what was going on. He knew what's going to happen next, right? Because it was his plan, his idea, right? So Arjuna was grief-stricken. Krishna is smiling because his friend, till now, Arjuna was like speaking to Krishna like a friend and giving various reasoning why he should not do this, why he should not do that. And now he surrendered. He says, yeah, I used all my intelligence, argument and all that, but now I'm not sure. Please tell me what is right for me. I've surrendered to you. Now you are a guru. So suddenly the scene changes, right? From a friendly conversation between two friends, now it is a very serious conversation between a guru and a disciple. So Krishna starts his Gita, his Upadesh, his instructions. Krishna starts his instructions. Now you might all be thinking, okay, Krishna is going to start his instructions. Arjuna is so much in distress. Maybe Krishna will sit with him, pat his shoulder, and say, Arjuna, it's okay, take it easy, don't worry, everything will be all right. You just go sleep, take a chill pill, go sleep under the tree. I will take care of all your enemies, right? Or at least nice words, comforting words. How Krishna starts his instruction. This is verse 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asochananva Sochastvam Pragna Vadamsha Bhashase Gatasuna Gatasuncha Nanu Sochanti Pandita. So Lord is scolding Arjuna. He's saying, Are Baba, you are speaking like a very learned person. You use learned words. You talked about this reason not to fight, that reason not to fight. You speaking like a very learned person, but you are actually a fool. You are mourning for something which is not worthy of grief. So you really don't know. You don't have knowledge. Why are you posing like a person who has knowledge? Because you really don't have knowledge. If you had the knowledge, then you wouldn't have lamented for this. You would have just done your duty. And he says, those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. I'm saying that again, those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, saying that you are actually a fool, but you are posing like a learned person. Why he was a fool? Actually, Arjuna was not a fool that way, right? He had so much of material qualification. He was such a great warrior. He had so much of knowledge. He gave so much of sane arguments, which any of us, possibly would have, maybe not even got anywhere close to his sound arguments, right? But Krishna is saying you are actually acting like a fool. You don't know the real meaning of life. You don't know what is the why you are here, or So he's admonishing him. He's scolding him, right? And he says the way you acted, is not worthy at all, because you are lamenting for something which is not worthy of grief. Like for example, sometimes children cry for some petty thing, right? And you say, you should not be crying for such small things. We tell our children, right? Like that, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you should not be crying for this. Now, we might be thinking, what is this? I mean, he has to kill his family, friends, guru, and it's such a big problem. And Krishna is telling the same thing. You shouldn't be crying for this. It's a very petty thing. And Krishna says, those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So that means if you are wise, that means if you have wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is the understanding of what is right, what is wrong. If you are wise, we will not feel bad. We will not lament for any living entity, nor will we lament for anybody who is dead. Just see. This is the real sign of wisdom. Real sign of wisdom means that we are not lamenting for any living entity. So what does it mean? We look at so many people, their problems, and we say, oh, poor thing, Amma is suffering. And then, we think that his problem is our problem. And we are lamenting. We say, oh, what is this? How do we do this? How do I help this person? And we are also worried and thinking. Krishna is saying, wise person doesn't do this. And of course, not for the dead, right? Oh, this person went away, that. So saying a wise person doesn't lament. Wise person doesn't lament. Why wise person doesn't lament? Why? Because he's wise. Because he understands the real meaning of life. He understands who we are, what is the reason for our existence, etc., etc. He has all the required spiritual knowledge. So he doesn't lament. Of course, this doesn't mean that we become hard-hearted towards people who are going through suffering or pain. No. But we actually have to approach them with a spiritual understanding and help them out in their situation, right? Not on the material platform. Like we discussed, if somebody's beggar comes, instead of giving him 10 rupees and trying to solve temporary problem, that in a half-hearted way, we should actually give him prasadam, or we should, invite him to the temple, or we should do something such that he can come into bhakti or Krishna consciousness, right? So we will discuss this, we'll discuss this as this. So this is Atma Gnana. Krishna is now talking about Atma Gnana. He's talking about the knowledge of the soul. He's going to start now. He's going to start talking about knowledge of the soul. Okay, so verse 12, he says, Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipa na chaivana bhavishyamaha sarve vayam athaparam. So Krishna is starting off this Atma Gnana by saying we are all eternal living entities. We are all eternal individuals. He's including himself. He's saying, I am an eternal individual. You are an eternal individual. All these kings that are present here are eternal individuals. Okay, and we have never been born. We will not be born We are not born. We were never born in the past. We are not born now, and we will not be born in the future. That means that we are always existing. Please let this sink in, okay? We are, Krishna is now going to tell who we are, but now we know that this is about us as Atma, we are the soul. Krishna is saying we are eternal. We have no birth at all. Now, when we don't have birth, what is the question of death? So when we don't have birth nor death, what is the question of lamentation for somebody living or dying? Because what is living or dead is only the material body, not the Atma. So we are spirit souls. Please remember this. Put it on your, mirror. I am not this body. I am spirit soul. Spirit soul is eternal. Spirit soul doesn't have birth. Spirit soul doesn't have death. Okay. Now, doesn't the problems, all problems become solved easily? 1 second. I have to just drop a key to Prabhu. Okay. Patil Prabhu was waiting for some notes. Okay. So basically the whole idea is that, I'm not this body. I am spirit soul. I don't have death. Now this changes the whole perspective of our life, or the whole meaning of our life, right? All these days we were in anxiety about what is going to happen, what is, this, that, and all that. Why? Because we think we are the body and we are concerned about so many things that are happening. Now everything that is happening around us is happening only to the body. This is the good news. Okay, the good news for all of us is whatever is happening around us, birth, death, old age, this is not happening to us. It is happening to our body. In the sense, when we take birth, we get a body. When we die, we lose that, we give up that body, and we take another body. And when there is disease, when there is old age, that is not happening to us as the soul. That is just happening to the body. Okay? So isn't that a great relief? That we are not this body. There is really no death for us as soul. There is no birth also, because we are eternal. We don't have birth, we don't have death, we don't have old age, we don't have disease. None of these. Don't you feel like relief, happy? New identity.
Definitely.
This is a new identity. I mean, when I first heard this knowledge to this detail, actually, I said, oh, this is so relieving. I mean, this is freedom. Suddenly, I don't have to worry about anything around me. Well, we will still have to do our duty. We'll understand this better. But this disease is not for me. This death is not for me. This is just for my body. So why am I so anxious? Why am I so tense? Why am I so worried? Why don't I now? So Krishna is just starting to say this knowledge. Just see how powerful it is. How powerful. Right? That is why Krishna actually spends 20 verses in Bhagavad Gita to speak about this Atma. Right? Because he wants all of us, without doubt, be completely settled in this knowledge, saying that I am not this body. I am spirit soul. And this soul has no birth, no death, no disease, no nothing. Such a beautiful, revelation, isn't it? Now he says, okay, now that we are the soul, what is the quality of the soul? He says, Dehinoismin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra numuyati. So he's saying, Arjuna, why did I call you a fool? Because you are forgetting that, all these living entities here, they're all Atma, and you are lamenting for their body. Why? Because Dehinoismin yatha dehe. Just as the human body actually embodied soul. Our body has changed, right? When we were small, we had a small body of a baby. Right? Then we grew. Now, when we were small, our body was different. Now our body is different. Are we lamenting for this? Saying that, oh, that small baby body, I lost it. And I'm going to just stop everything, not do anything, put my hand on my head and just sit and keep lamenting. No, our body has been changing constantly, right? Actually, in fact, science says, I think every 7 years or something, cells completely, all the cells in the body change, different organs have different aging, etc., etc. But the whole point is that the body is continuously changing. The body that we are so attached to, so associated with, it is changing all the time. Right? But we are not lamenting for it. But we lament when there is death. So here Krishna is saying, just like as the body changes from childhood to boyhood to youth to old age, Body is changing. Similarly, at the time of death, the soul changes to another body. That's it. So what is death? Just changing of our body to another. So this body becomes useless. Death means death happens when this body becomes useless, when it is not usable. In the sense, our karma phala, etc., everything is done. Now this body is of no use. This body has to be given up. Now this body goes and you get a new body. That's it. That's it. It is almost like you sleep and next day you wake up and yeah, you find yourself in the womb of a mother. That's it. It's as simple as that. What happened? Just that, the relations, the body, the things associated with this body is lost, right? We just lose complete memory. We forget who we are, who we were. We forget that we lived in a particular place. Of course, we don't take our bank accounts. We don't take our house. We don't take any of our property. We don't take any of our relatives. That's it. So it's simply just changing this location. And like, you say, send me your GPS location. Today I took one location. Tomorrow my location is changed. That's it. Why are we so worried about it? Actually, there's one beautiful one story which is illustrated in the Shastra to depict how are we reborn in the same family. I will answer that. Okay, so what happens once there is a king. Okay, so this king is like this, so materialistic, always is just, completely with the family, wives and children and this and that and kingdom. Is just like, he has no time to think about, who am I, what is the goal of life, etc., etc., right? But his, once his guru comes and he looks at him and says, okay, what is this? This, king is really, living a very pathetic life, right? He's living like animal. So let me do one thing. I have to teach him a lesson. Right. So what he does, he tells the king, okay, king, do one thing, find out the fullest of fools. The, person who really is the worst, the best fool, so to call, right? The best fool in your kingdom. You call him and you appoint him, give him a work. That work is, he will take a stick and he will keep loitering around all your kingdom, nothing else. He just hold a stick in his hand and he will keep walking around and you pay him some salary for that. He says, okay, my guru is saying, what is the big deal? I don't have anything to do. So he goes, he creates one, selection process, finds the best fool and he gives him the stick. And his job saying that you keep doing this and every month you will get paid something, blah, blah, right? And then years pass and then, the king becomes old and, but he's still stuck with his own, family and this and that, and is not coming to thinking about any of the higher questions in life. Right, then the time comes when this king has to leave his body. So his death is nearing. Now when this death is nearing, now king comes to know, okay, I'm going to die. And he's calling all his ministers, his very important family, near and dear ones, etc., talking to them and saying this, that, etc., right? So then suddenly he thinks, oh, that fool whom I had appointed, let me call him. I also want to talk to him, right? Because I didn't meet him at all after so many years now. I appointed, no, I have not met him. So he calls that fool. The fool comes. The fool is, is standing in front of the king and king is in distress and everybody is crying. The fool is not able to understand. He says, hey, what is happening? Then fool asks the king, what is happening? What is the problem? He says, no, I am going, I'm going on a journey. He said, journey? Wow. Okay, you're going on a journey. Why don't you take me also? He says, no, I can't take you. I have to go alone. Oh, you have to go alone. Okay, I am sure you will take you'll take all your near and dear ones, your wife, children, etc. He says, no, I can't take them also. You can't take them also. You can't take me. Okay, I understand. You can't take them also. Okay, what about all your, you have so much of nice, you have so much of wealth, property, and these things in your palace. Yeah, why don't you take them along? He says, no, I can't take them also. Yeah, the fool is becoming like very inquisitive. He's like, what kind of a journey is this? Where he can't take any of this. He says, okay, then you take nice food stuff. You can eat nicely on your way and enjoy. No, I can't take that also. Then this fool is really like, he's intrigued. So then this king is also, what can I explain to a fool what death is and, that I'm going to lose everything and go somewhere. So then he says, okay, so the king tells the fool, okay, now I'm going to relieve you of your responsibility. Okay. So now you find me another fool. I will give you stipend, your salary for all your life, right? Where you don't have to work, just go home and you'll get paid. Now you find me a bigger fool than you, more qualified fool, and I'm going to give him this job and give him the salary. I'll give you also salary, no problem. And this fool thinks for a minute, and then he hands over the stick to the king. Gives the stick to the king. King is like, what? Why are you giving the stick to me? He said, you asked me a better, greater fool, I am giving you. King is asking, what? You are calling me a big fool, greater fool than you. How can you say this? He says, Arey, what else? See, whole life you spent your time, earning so much of wealth, being so high, trying to be happy with your king, with your family, with your children, with your this, that, you accumulated so much of wealth, right? And you spent all your time, all your life doing this. Now we are saying you can't take any of this. Why did you waste so much of time doing all this? Didn't you have any better work to do? Right? Actually, that fool was one of his disciples of his guru, who was appointed. The guru had this plan that he wanted to teach his, king a lesson, saying that, this is not how we live life. We just don't live life for all these material possessions around us, because we have to just leave it one day. Our address is going to change, our bank account is going to change, everything is going to change. But we spend all our life till the last moment. I mean, I've seen people who died and, their only worry was, my family, my children, my wife, that. No concern about where am I going, what am I going to do, who's going to take care of me, this is going to be a good birth, this is going to be a bad birth. Right? So this is called lack of intelligence. As human beings, we should not live. This is animalistic, right? This is compared to a goat, which is in the slaughterhouse. There is grass outside, and the goat is tied to a pole, and the goat has no idea. It's just happily eating grass. Next moment, it's going to be slaughtered. End of its life. But it's so happy. It's not even trying to escape. So humans should not live like this goat. Okay, so we have to awaken ourselves to this reality, saying that, I'm just not this body, I'm a soul, and just the end of this so-called death, I'm just going to give up this body and take another body. So an intelligent person will ask, okay, what is that another body going to be? Is that, like Supriya is asking here, is that, am I going to be born in the same family? Am I ever going to be born as a human being? Then question of family, right? Or where am I going to be? What is my address? Who are going to be my people? What kind of, we have to be inquisitive about that, right? So that is the real meaning of human life, to become inquisitive about this real question, saying that who am I? Where am I going to go? What is death? Okay, next week I'm going to answer Supriya's question. Next week is going to be a very important continuation of this. And major emphasis Krishna, gives to tolerance. So I'm going to discuss that in the next. To answer this question about, do we get born in the same family? Maybe, maybe not. Now, what does it depend on? It depends on lots of things. It's very complicated. But what we can be rest assured is the people who come in touch with us. Different points of time in our life, different people come in touch with us, right? Some people come and give us happiness. Some people give us distress. Some people create problems. Some people give us solutions. Please remember, most of the times, these are all people with whom we had to exchange some karma phala. So if somebody came and slapped us on the road without, any background, it can be very clear, saying that this is just exchange of my karma phala. I slapped him last life. He's coming and slapping me this life, right? So now if we are too attached, for example, there are some people who are too attached means like no way to express it, right? So much attached to their children or wife or whoever, right? Somebody in their family, they're so attached that they're at their last dying time, they're just thinking about their family, maybe this child or my son, then they might come back. So many times, they might come back like their children. So there are different things, right? It totally depends on the consciousness at the time of death. People are thinking about, suddenly maybe some random thought, America comes. We might be born in America. right? Like this. It totally depends on what thought comes at the time of death, right? And that thought is not controlled. It doesn't come up in one moment. That thought is built over our whole life, right? So what consciousness we build up throughout our life, those thoughts come at the end of our life. And based on those thoughts, our next life happens. So these things will be discussed in Bhagavad Gita. Janani asking, is there a solution to avoid rebirths? Yes. Yes, of course, Janani. Otherwise, why? Otherwise, then, I spoke all this and then at the end of it, it will be like, oh, okay, we are also going behind only the temporary problems. No, we are going behind the real problems because there is a solution. There is a solution. That is the solution that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So we will discuss this solution also. Okay. So kindly, you have a lot of questions, I know. So please do ABCD. Okay. This ABCD is the means for that not getting another body. Okay. This is the process. A for association, B for books. Please read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. C for chanting. Please chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. If you are not made it a habit, please make it a habit. So Janani, to answer your question, this is the key to getting out of this material world. More than getting out of the material world, it will give us something a lot more, which we'll discuss later. But this is the key. So chanting is more important than brushing our teeth. Please understand. It's more important than that. Right? And finally, diet, which is Krishna Prasadam. If we do this ABCD, then we get out of this miserable cycle of birth and death. Okay. Now, there's one more question. Supriya is asking, what is bad karma? So there are four principal bad karmas, primary, what we call sins. Okay. Which is actually intoxication, drinking liquor, meat eating non-vegetarian, then gambling, putting 10 rupees and trying to make 15 out of it, and illicit relations with people, right? Illicit marital relations, illicit relations, husband, wife, all this, right? So these four are considered as pillars of adharma, pillars of sin. Of course, then there are zillions of adharma, zillion more things that we can be doing wrong, for which there are punishments also, and we will discuss that in Bhagavatam when we start. But just to understand, right? So these are considered as the pillars. That is why in previous life, these were in past, our elders, there's no question of, drinking liquor. There's no question of meat eating. There's no question of illicit relations. There's no question of gambling. But today it has become a lifestyle, isn't it? Oh, liquor, yeah, it's lifestyle. Hey, what is this? You don't drink, you don't eat meat. You are, you say you are like some Brahmin or something. What does it mean? Just enjoy life. Eating, drinking, make merry. Eat, drink, make merry. And the recipe is go to hell. That is what this recipe for these four things. If we do, we go to hell. Right? Hell is just the worst of punishments, right? We'll talk about hell at a later point in time, right? So our karma has to be very, very measured. We should know what is right, what is wrong. But these are pillars. Then there are lot of other sukshma, very, sensitive kind of things, which we will understand and discuss, right? So yeah, this is just the beginning of this, beautiful. It is, it's something that none of us would have heard of before in our life, and it's so enchanting. It's and it's relieving at the same time because we are not stuck. So please be rest assured, we are not stuck in this body nor in this material world, and we have a solution to get out of all this mess and really be happy, real happiness. That's what we are after. Okay. So we're doing all this because we want real happiness, and there is a way to get real happiness, and Krishna will reveal that as we progress in Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Seturaman Prabhu, you have a question. So I'll end here. Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can ask your question. Yeah.
I got a question.